Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 1, Nether Realm of the Dead. Chapter 19, The End. 19th of Volume 1. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. After Xie Tianshu's black dragon-like aberration, his body's defenses were incredibly strong, and he quickly stood up again. But his body was numb, and his muscles ached and felt weak. Whoosh! Before he could fully recover, Li Weiyi's figure was already upon him. A yellow sword light sliced through the air, aimed at his abdomen. Xie Tianshu instinctively raised his claw to block. PFF'd. The sword's edge cut through his scale-covered claw with effortless ease, leaving a deep wound in his abdomen. Blood gushed out uncontrollably. Ah! Xie Tianshu trembled in pain, terror, and confusion, stumbling backward with a shrill scream. This agony was even more devastating than the loss of his right arm before, filled with despair. He had become so powerful, transformed into a monstrous demon of immense strength, yet he had still been utterly defeated. Just moments ago, the sword in Li Weiyi's hand had been unable to pierce his black scales. Why had it suddenly become so incredibly sharp? His claw had been severed as easily as cutting tofu. He would never know that the yellow dragon sword, when wielded with the scorching chi flow, was an entirely different weapon than its normal state. Because of his grotesque, uneven skull, Li Weiyi had already severed it. Thud. The head crashed to the ground, and the headless corpse collapsed. Suddenly, the entire world seemed to fall silent. Li Weiyi stared at the thick, viscous blood gushing from the severed neck of the giant headless corpse on the ground. He looked around at the bloody battlefield littered with corpses, where only Zhao Meng and Chen Hong, their legs broken, still lay writhing. The other research team members had fled in terror after Xie Tianshu's black dragon-like aberration, hiding in the distance and watching timidly. Whether they were afraid of him or terrified by the carnage, he couldn't tell. The bloody scene was too horrific for these people, who had never experienced killing before. All the nightmares they'd ever had since childhood combined couldn't compare to this. Gradually, the killing intent that had ignited within Li Weiyi, fueled by resentment and rage, dissipated like a sudden drain of all his strength. His blood-stained hands trembled uncontrollably, and he could barely grip the yellow dragon sword. A wave of nausea and physical discomfort surged through him, threatening to make him vomit. This was his first time killing someone, and he had killed so many. The impact on his psyche was even greater than when he had fallen into the bronze ship. Li Weiyi's heart pounded like a frantic drumbeat. His mind flickered between blankness and crimson haze as he sat down on Xie Tianshu's chest. His eyes locked with Xie Tianshu's severed head on the ground, though his pupils were unfocused. Qi Shanshan approached him, knelt down, and tugged at his sleeve, whispering, Weiyi, don't scare Sister Shanshan. What's wrong? Weiyi. It's Sister Shanshan. Li Weiyi's emotions gradually returned. He exhaled a murky breath and began practicing the Jade Void Yushu breathing technique. His eyes slowly regained their luster as he gazed at Qi Shanshan's exquisitely beautiful face so close to his own. I'm fine. It was just. For a moment. Don't say another word. Qi Shanshan pressed a finger to Li Weiyi's lips, her gesture overly intimate. She soothed him gently, we know they deserve to die. Don't burden yourself with any guilt. Li Weiyi found Dr. Qi's behavior unsettlingly abnormal, even somewhat boundaryless. She had never treated him like this before. Back then, she referred to him and Xuanhuan as the cripple. Soon, more research team members gathered around, all concerned about Li Weiyi's safety. They weren't afraid of Li Weiyi himself, but of Xie Tianshu, which was why they had kept their distance. So what if he had killed someone? Li Weiyi had also risked his life to save them. In times of national crisis, heroes are revered, in times of personal peril, gods are worshipped. Li Weiyi was not a god, but he was the one who had led them out of the darkness when they were most vulnerable and helpless. Unaccustomed to being surrounded by so many people, all showing him respect, awe, flattery, and deference, Li Weiyi quickly stood up and fled like a rabbit, rushing to check on his senior brother's injuries. Qi Shanshan, in her doctor's uniform, followed him like a shadow, her fragrant perfume lingering in the air. She seemed determined to stick by his side. Zhao Meng had already been carried into the medical tent and laid flat on an examination bed. But he had long since fainted from the pain, his face ashen, his breath shallow. Senior brother. Senior brother. Li Weiyi gently touched Zhao Meng's swollen, purplish-red legs. The wound on his knee revealed fractured bones. The injury to his shoulder was no better, the bones were severely dislocated, a truly horrifying sight. He immediately turned to Qi Shanshan, pleading earnestly, Dr. Qi, please save my senior brother. Leave him to me. Thinking of something else, Qi Shanshan added, Weiyi, Sister Shanshan knows you're only concerned about senior brother's safety right now, but you must first collect those immortal artifacts. They're rightfully yours. Don't let those who did nothing take them. Otherwise, they might become another Xie Tianshu or Kong Fan, claiming extraordinary power they don't deserve. Lao Lu and the other core members of Zhao Meng's faction, who had been standing around the hospital bed, nodded vigorously. They now looked to Li Wei as their leader. They found Dr. Qi remarkable, always knowing what needed to be done in the present and able to foresee future dangers. This required extreme rationality and composure, qualities they still lacked, having yet to fully recover from the shock of the recent upheaval. 2 female researchers remained in the medical tent to assist Qi Shanshan. As Lao Lu and the others exited the tent, they turned their fury on Chen Hong, who lay severely wounded on the ground, kicking and punching him to vent their rage. The corpse garment soft armor, which had belonged to Zhao Meng, was naturally stripped from Chen Hong's body and handed over to Li Wei for safekeeping. Li Wei found that everyone now treated him with utmost respect, even more than they had treated Captain Gao before. He didn't even need to lift a finger. Others retrieved the silver silk gloves, scripture belt, and dragon-patterned ring from the corpses and presented them to him. 3 research team members even carried the 10-foot-long black spear outside the medical tent and placed it at his feet. Li Wei couldn't help but laugh and feel utterly bewildered. Was this what it meant to be, imperial robe bestowed? The leader of the research team even instructed Qin Ke to stay by Li Wei's side and assist with any tasks she could handle. Brother Wei Yi Gerger. You can call me KK. Qin Ke was a student of Professor Xu and a classmate of Gao Huan. Among the expedition team members, she and Lu Ying were the youngest and most attractive, aside from Kai Yutong and Qi Shanshan. However, she was incredibly timid. When she was given a shotgun, she didn't dare keep it and immediately tossed it into the sea. Li Wei found the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish very close to Han Qin's corpse. After wiping it clean, he put it back around his neck. Then, he knelt down to examine Han Qin's head. The spot where the Tai Chi fish had struck was fractured, and a pool of blood had swelled beneath the skin. There was no sign of breath. To kill someone from 30 meters away. It seems I should start carrying pebbles, metal shards, or throwing knives. They could easily serve as substitutes for a pistol. With his current strength, the key to killing with pebbles was accuracy. But with his eyes nourished by the scorching qi flow, his vision was extraordinary. Combined with the flying needle technique he had learned from his master, accuracy was not an issue at all. Xie Tianshu, Chen Hong, Kong Fan, and even the members of the security team were simply too weak. That's why Li Wei's long-range sword attacks had been so successful. Against a true master, casually throwing or abandoning one's sword would be a fatal mistake. Director Yang lay curled on the ground, his body drained of blood, his frame shriveled like a pile of bones. His hair had turned completely white, his eyes clouded and lifeless, clearly a man on the brink of death. He saw Li Wei approaching. With his last breath, he clutched Li Wei's trouser leg, straining his neck to lift his head as if he wanted to say something. Li Wei helped him sit up, his heart filled with sorrow at the sight of his pitiful state. Just 7 days had passed, yet he had transformed so drastically. It felt like an entire lifetime had passed. Director Yang gripped Li Wei's wrist tightly, his voice hoarse with pleading. Return to Earth. Hurry back. You must bring back the Buddha's relic as soon as possible. Go to the Ganlu Temple's underground palace. You must. You must. Otherwise. The strength in his fingers faded, and he breathed his last. What do you mean? Why would I go to the Ganlu Temple's underground palace? Li Wei checked Director Yang's pulse, he was already dead. He gently lowered the director back to the ground. Qin Ke, standing nearby, said, they say the Buddha's relic was found in the Ganlu Temple's underground palace. Li Wei suspected that Director Yang's obsession with retrieving the Buddha's relic and returning to Earth might be related. He decided to question the 2 captured researchers from Laboratory 705. However, they knew very little and had no information about the Ganlu Temple's underground palace. Returning to Earth was beyond their control, so Li Wei had to set the matter aside for the time being. There were far more pressing matters on the ship. The Ghost Bear Emperor at the stern. The White Bone Demon in the burial mound. They posed a far greater threat than Xie Tianshu, Kong Fan, Director Yang, or anyone else. Moreover, this entire upheaval was riddled with unanswered questions. Gao Huan and Lao Lu led over 20 young and strong research team members into the nether mist, armed with protective shields, electric stun guns, steel rods, cleavers, and various other weapons to search for the 5 escaped members, including Xie Jin. Li Wei entered the medical tent just as Qi Shanshan finished disinfecting, staunching the bleeding, bandaging, and setting Zhao Meng's wounds and fractured bones. But Zhao Meng remained unconscious, his face deathly pale, showing no signs of waking. Li Wei looked at the fine beads of sweat on Qi Shanshan's forehead and said, "You've worked hard. Take off your clothes." Qi Shanshan was putting away the medical supplies. Li Wei was stunned. Qi Shanshan turned around, her expression a mix of blame and concern. "Are you only worried about your senior brother's injuries? You're hurt too, but you didn't say a word. Or all you men so chauvinistic? It's just a minor injury. Nothing to worry about." Li Wei's injuries were located on his left shoulder and right wrist. The left shoulder had been struck by a small amount of thunder and lightning released by the black iron seal. His clothes were carbonized, and his skin was severely damaged, causing excruciating pain. His right wrist had been cut by the edge of an ice coffin at the bottom of the burial mound. The wound had already scabbed over, but it had split open again when he used the black spear. The spear was too heavy for Li Wei's current strength, making it difficult to wield without injuring himself. These injuries were nothing to Li Wei, who had cultivated the scorching qi flow. They would heal by 70 or 80% in less than a day. However, Qi Shanshan insisted on treating them. Li Wei had no choice but to remove his clothes and let her bandage his wounds. As Qi Shanshan bandaged his wrist, Li Wei studied her face and eyes and asked, "I heard that before the chaos erupted, Sister Shanshan took senior Sister Kai away. Where is she now?" Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.